Hi, welcome back to Shelter Tales. This is Connie Galley, and with me today is my guest, Sean Flynn. And Sean is an author. We're going to talk about his book, The Kitty Who Rescued Me After I Rescued Him. It's got a lot of awards, and Sean is also a volunteer with Enfield Community Cat Project that he'll talk about, and he has adopted and taken in 5 cats. Are you at your limit now, or?
I can't see getting another cat, but if the right one came up, I could see rescuing another.
It's very difficult. It's very difficult. Well, Sean, Sean's also a voted reader favorite in 2017. This book. You want to hold the book up so
Sure.
we can get a. And was lauded in the 2017 International Book Award.
Yep.
You have a syndicated, nationally syndicated radio talk show, Talking Pets.
Well, I was a guest
You were
on
a guest on it?
on
Okay.
Talking Pets.
Okay.
Yes.
And where can people, if they want to get this, which is a wonderful story, where can they get it? Your website?
Well, yeah, certainly Amazon.com is probably the
Okay.
easiest.
Okay.
If they, some people don't use the internet and you want to purchase it locally, you can get it at the Book Club Bookstore and More in South Windsor on Sullivan Avenue.
Okay.
And I believe the Barnes & Noble still have copies available
Okay.
in Enfield,
Enfield,
at the Barnes
okay.
& Noble.
All right.
Yeah.
So, Sean, you know, there's an obvious experience you had. You take a lot of rescue cats. That little guy, his name is Kitty.
Yeah.
Right? That's Kitty.
Kitty.
Show up at your door. Did he just show up at your door one day, or did you get him through a rescue, or?
Well, when I moved to the house that I currently live in Enfield, he had been living in the backyard for 2 or 3 years, according to my next door neighbor.
And they were feeding him. Your neighbors were feeding him, or someone had to be, right?
Well, I'm not sure if someone was feeding him. I know he was living off mice and birds because he lived in my backyard that first summer I lived there, and I saw him catching mice and birds quite often. I suspect the neighbor might have been feeding him too, but I'm not certain about that. I actually met him 2 months before I moved into that house. I was walking in the backyard with the realtor, just looking around trying to get a feel for the property, and this big bushy orange cat came over and rubbed up against my leg, and he was real friendly. And
So not a feral, or maybe just a feral who knew a good thing when he saw it.
No,
you don't know if he was a feral.
No, he wasn't. He was clearly someone's pet, and so he was either abandoned or a stray.
Yeah.
And he was real friendly, and I just thought he was a neighbor's cat and didn't think much of it. Well, I moved into that house 2 months later. I moved in on a Saturday morning, and I got home from work Monday evening about 5:30 or 6 o'clock, and he was sitting on the front step like he was waiting for me to get home.
Oh, has your time. It's amazing how they know they can tell time, isn't it? It's amazing. So did you let him in at that point, or did you have to figure out, is this a neighbor's cat, or?
Well, I didn't know whose cat he was.
Yeah.
I started feeding him on the back porch with a bowl of water, and he would hang out with me like when I was doing yard work in the backyard on weekends, and he would either come over and rub up against my leg, or I'd just notice him sitting, 5 or 6 feet away, just sitting in the grass watching me work.
Yeah.
And he was real friendly. He would hang out with me in the evening, like if I was sitting on the porch, he would come over. Sometimes he would jump up on my lap, and he was real friendly. And that fall, when it started getting cold out, I installed one of those swinging two-way pet doors so he could have a warmer place to stay, in from the elements. So I put a big pillow in the corner of the garage next to a food and water bowl, and every morning when I left for work, he would be lying on his pillow. So that's how he kind of
Oozed his way into
he
your life.
started on the back porch, moved into the garage for a few months.
Actually, Sean.
Yeah.
Started in the yard.
That's right.
So how long did it take you? Now he's in your garage.
Yeah.
And you open the door to the house at some point in time. He looks at you, goes, "Okay, I want in."
Well,
how'd that happen?
He actually used to try to sneak in quite often when I had the door open, bringing in groceries and stuff. But he was full of fleas and ticks, so I'd just go in gently, pick him up, and bring him back outside. That fall, when it really started getting cold out, he looked up at me one morning with those big, beautiful green eyes, and he said, "Dude, come on, it's so cold out here, just let me in." So I said, "Sure thing."
And I tell you, the yellow boys, I find, because I have a bunch, I told you I have 4 cats, 3 of them are yellow. They're the friendliest. They are just the super friendliest, and I don't know why.
Absolutely.
So you saved him.
Yep.
Now there has to be a story behind how he saved you.
Yeah, well, I fell in love with him over the course of several months, as I mentioned, and I went through kind of a difficult personal time in my life, And just having him in my life and taking care of him, really helped with that process. So just having him really was a good thing for me.
They offer, I don't think, people who have animals understand this, but they offer such companionship and unjudgmental companionship. And I swear they know when something's wrong in your life, like a story. I mean, you have a picture on the back of this book that you'll see, everybody will see it, because we're going to put it up with the story. But he's kissing him. He's kissing Sean. He's very, very loving. And, I had a kitty when I had a loss in my family, my younger brother. I was laying on the bed crying my eyes out, and my husband was on one side brushing my hair off my forehead, and my cat jumped up on the other side and very gently started doing the same thing with her claws. And they do understand. They understand pain.
Sure they do.
And they do help you get through. I heard from a lot of people that, I had to take care of the animals. I couldn't just wallow in my grief because I had to take care of the animals. And you get such love in return. So you started now, was he an alone boy for a long time before you started increasing your family?
Yeah, it was probably 2 or 3 years before I rescued my next cat. And the next one I rescued was I named him Squeakers. I had seen him at an apartment complex over the course of several weeks. And every time I saw him, he would be standing in front of an apartment door crying like he wanted to be let in. Yeah. So clearly he had been abandoned. Yeah. And
drives you crazy, doesn't the people who just throw living, breathing things away like trash?
It's a tragedy.
It makes me nuts.
Yeah. And, I certainly, rescuing Kitty and having him in my life helped me to develop a real soft spot in my heart for abandoned and stray cats. Yeah. So I... one day when I saw Squeaks, I said, "Hey, bud, I think it's time for you. You're clearly, not no one's pet who's just out hanging out. You've been abandoned, or you have left a tough situation. So you can come home and live with me and Kitty." And I brought him home, and anyway.
Is Kitty okay with it?
Oh, absolutely not.
I was waiting for you to go, because I'm having trouble. I want to talk to you about it. Oh, absolutely not. So how long did it take to integrate? Well, you were kitties. You were kitties, and you didn't want to share you with somebody else. They're territorial.
That's right.
Almost unlike dogs who like packs, cats are extremely territorial, especially when it comes to their humans.
Absolutely.
So how long did it take you to integrate Kitty and Squeakers?
It took about 3 weeks. Squeakers lived in the basement for the first 2 weeks after I rescued him because, I didn't want him to, if he had fleas or ticks.
You have to do all that treatment stuff,
And I needed to get him his shots, and got him his shots. I got his tests, so he didn't, he didn't have feline immune deficiency virus.
Or anything like that.
He didn't have any problems. So, once his tests came back all negative, got him his shots, got him cleaned up at the groomer, brought him upstairs to live with Kitty and I. And Kitty was not happy about it.
All right, I know all about that story.
He was used to being the only cat, and he liked it that way.
Yeah. And you were his. I mean, you were his.
Right.
I have a cat just to show you that they can glom onto people. I think people think, cats are so independent. But they are possessive. They are possessive.
Absolutely.
I have one cat that never comes onto my bed, and this morning he decided he was going to go and lay on my husband's side of the bed and look out the window. And I have a cat that's always on the bed all night long, and he came up and he saw the other one. He's like, "Oh no," and started fussing. I thought they were playing, and then all of a sudden I saw and like, no, it was going to bite him. So, and that's an easygoing cat, but they're very possessive of their people. They love their people.
Sure they are.
And so eventually, now you got Squeakers. So now you've become, you're not quite the crazy cat guy yet. I always say a 6-pack. Then you become the crazy cat woman or guy. That's how I feel. I can't get up to 6. I was up to 5, and that was it. And my husband put his foot down. But then you got Girline, Gypsy, and Tigger. And Tigger's a yellow and white guy too, kind of like Kitty.
Yeah.
So you started bringing them in one at a time. Never from shelters, though. You were one of the fortunate people that found the guys that were out and just really needed a home.
That's right. Girline was actually born in my garage. That same year I rescued Squeakers, a feral cat crawled in my garage one day when I had the garage door open, had the lawnmower out cutting the grass. And it was a late Sunday afternoon, and that Tuesday morning I was leaving for work. And I heard what sounded like a bird chirping in my garage. I kind of looked around, I looked over, and I thought, maybe it was just outside.
in or- yeah.
Yes, well, no, I didn't think it got in. I thought maybe I heard it off in the distance outside the window or something. So, and then I heard it again. I started looking around. I looked down on the bottom of a shelf of one of my cabinets. There was a cat sitting there with 3 little tiny babies. And it was a feral cat. Once I saw it, and she recognized I saw her. She started hissing and
Moving her
backed
babies.
up.
Oh yeah, and having babies there, they're not real
Yeah.
happy, when they're the
No.
babies. So how did you? Well, now you got them. They're in a safe place,
Yeah.
and she's taking. So, and this is for my edification because I have never had the privilege. I have a piece of property that the guy who cuts the grass always say, I always see cats run. They're not mine because mine are inside cats running on your lawn. I'm thinking, dang, why don't I ever find kittens? I mean, I would love to come and find a kitten on my doorstep. I never find them. I have to go, So how did you then remove Girlene's mother and the other 2 cats? I mean, when she was done breastfeeding, she just took off. They got
no,
weaned, or?
I of course kept my garage doors closed at that point
Yeah,
because I didn't want her to get out because the kittens needed
her, yeah.
And I didn't want any other animals coming into the garage either. So over the course of the next 9 or 10 weeks, I kept my garage doors closed. And but I started feeding. I named the mother cat Kitty Mama.
Ah, okay. Easy
And
one, easy one.
and I started feeding her kitten food so that she could, of course, pass on the nutrients
Right, to
to
the
her
kittens, your babies.
kittens. Yes, and probably 2 weeks into it, unfortunately, the runt of the litter died, and so there were 2 left. I originally named Girlene Samantha. And it's kind of a story how I started calling her Girlene. I called her my little girl, and that morphed into Girly, and that Girly morphed into Girlene. I named her brother Oliver, and unfortunately they both inherited some disease from their feral cat mother, and Oliver ended up dying 3 or 4
Two out
months
of
into it.
two out of her litter didn't make it.
Yeah, and Girlene was actually hospitalized twice. And both times she almost died, but the vet was able to contact someone at a local veterinary university and get some advice and guidance.
What did she have? I mean, what did she?
Off the top of my head, I don't
Yeah,
recall. I have all her medical
Right,
records
right,
at
right.
home.
But she pulled through.
Oh, absolutely.
That's a fighter.
They changed her medication, and she was well enough that I was able to bring her home, and I had to give her medication for another 30 days or something like
And
that.
cats love getting medication. You might, how scratched were you? I always say I'm the one screaming and crying when I'm trying to give them medication because I end up shredded.
Well, she was just a little kitten.
She was
at the
kid, yeah,
time,
she was
so.
young. So now Girlene comes in.
Yeah.
Was Kitty? He's like, he's just going to keep doing this, so I might as well get used to it. I might as well just get used to this man.
Kitty didn't pay Girlene any mind.
Really?
Yeah,
Really?
I don't know if it was because she was a female,
tiny maybe,
or so
or-
small.
yeah,
But he didn't pay her any
I
mind.
didn't see her.
Nah. And he and Squeaks became real good friends. I mentioned it took about 3 weeks or so for Kitty and Squeakers to kind of stop their fighting, but they ended up becoming real good buddies. I mean, I used to see Kitty licking Squeakers quite
when they're
often,
grooming.
grooming each other.
Good.
Yeah.
It's amazing how long it takes. I bought, Enfield, the last one. I went up to PetSmart,
Yeah.
and Enfield Community Cat Project had a little guy there named Freddie, and I kept his name Freddie. I gave him a middle name too. He hears that when he's naughty. I thought I was the only idiot that did that, but somebody else just told me that they have their cats. Matter of fact, one of the people in the station has a cat named Diego, and she gave him a middle name and her last name. So it's funny. I gave this. So Freddie was from a hoarding situation. There were 39 cats in the house. So Enfield got I don't know how many, but Freddie ended up at PetSmart. And he didn't know how to play. Like I was dangling things. I went to visit him, and I had to give her some things, and just didn't get it. Didn't understand how. And she said he doesn't know how to play because the person had too much. 39 cats.
Yeah.
So I brought him home, and I'm fortunate enough to have a room with sliding glass doors on either side that you can see all the activity in the house, but he couldn't get in with the other 3 cats. So I thought, well, it's time the next day. He was pathetic. They told me, you have to have cats in the house to take this guy home because he's used to it. So I opened the door this much so that let my cats, and my cats looked like they were watching kitty TV. The three of them stood there on the other side of the glass and watched Freddie watching them. It was tragic for him. But I opened the glass this much and he goes, like, guys, he sticks his arm through, guys.
That's great.
So I think I opened the door the next day, and aside from the female, they were fine with him. But, he just wanted to be on that side. And then play. He learned to play real fast. He plays fetch with balls. I was stepping on balls all over the house, mice all over the house. He's got, he has a little toy basket. He would go and select something and play. And I said to Dawn, the head of the Enfield Community Cat Project,
Yeah.
I think you lied a little. I think he knew how to play. I mean, every time I walk by, I'm trying to trip over a cat toy. But they give you so much joy and so much pleasure. So now you're up in Enfield. You are involved with the Cat Project.
I sure am.
And you were telling me you do the marketing pieces. And I was wondering who, because there's some great marketing going on for your functions and all.
Yeah, I do the press releases and promotional stuff for their fundraisers. We recently had a fundraiser at the Powder Hollow Brewery in Enfield and raised over $4,000.
Well, you need, just the amount of, how many cats do they feed? Because she always needs kitten food and cat food. That's it, people, kitten food and cat food, they're always happy for that. And hard food, they feed feral colonies.
Yeah,
So.
there's a half dozen colonies that they feed with about 50 cats.
Yeah, so that's a lot of little mouths to feed. And
Sure.
And I know they're doing a great job trapping, neutering, and releasing, but
Yep.
you have to continue doing fundraisers. So what do you have upcoming? I mean, I know you have to continue doing fundraisers.
Oh, absolutely. Well, we have a number of things coming up. I don't believe we're having any until January.
Yeah, 'cause December's brutal to try to do anything.
Yeah, holidays.
Yeah.
So, but we certainly, every few months we usually do something at either a craft fair or we recently had a fundraiser at PetSmart in
for
Enfield
food,
on Hazard
right?
Avenue.
Yeah,
Yep.
for food.
It was the food drive.
Yeah, food drive.
And-
How'd you do on that? I think I
Real
saw a
well.
posting that it did pretty well.
Oh yeah, there were carloads of cat
Good,
food. People
good.
were buying cases of food and
Good,
giving them
good.
to us, or bags of food.
Good. Because that and you're included in that. They're such a hard-working group, and there's always posting. They're always making you aware what's going on, who they have, and who they have for adoption, where you can see them
Sure.
foster. They do wonderful job with socializing kittens and foster. How did you not get dragged into doing? I mean, you have 4 cats. Every time Dawn asks you, go, no, not me. Don't look at me. Don't look at me.
If
You should be a perfect foster. You're so good with cats.
If I would be what they call a foster
Failure.
fail.
Yeah, it's like
I would get a
20 cats in
I
your
would
house.
get a kitten. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I'd
right.
have 20 cats in my house. So
yeah.
I find it extremely difficult, but I have a lot of respect for people who are
Right.
able to self-actualize and
and say,
help
this is
keep
better for the cat.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Keep-
I'd be the same way.
Yeah.
I'd be the same way. So how long's your book been out? I mean, and you were very nice and helped us. You helped the Connecticut Cat Connection. You came to a fundraiser we had in June. And so how long has your book been out?
Well, I originally published it in December of 2016.
Because that's fairly new. Oh, it's fairly new. You were only like 6 months when you had come to us with the book.
Well, I republished it in April of 2017, April this year, because this is my first book and I made some rookie mistakes. For example, I didn't buy my own ISBN number, so I didn't own the distribution rights to the book.
Is that how it works?
And so I was only able to sell it on Amazon, or if I actually took the book and went to someone and said, would you like to buy my book?
Right,
or
right.
took it to a bookstore. But as a result of that, I wasn't able to get it into the big chain bookstores.
I see. Well, who published it? Did you have you self-published or did you?
I
go
self-published.
Published, and so as a result, you're saying, and this is also, so we always have information for you people out there, because somebody would say, yeah, I want to write a book. If you don't, the ISBN is almost like a barcode type thing. It identifies the book. Does it identify the author and the
Every book
title?
in the world has a unique
right.
ISBN
Right.
number, and that is unique to the book. It does appear on the barcode, but it
Right.
also appears on the copyright page. So the barcode, of course, on the back, and the copyright page on the back of the title page.
Okay.
But it appears on that as well. Now, since
Sure as shooting, there's going to be somebody here who goes, I want to know how to publish a book too.
Well, since I purchased my own ISBN number after I initially published it in December. I purchased my own ISBN number, made some other changes to it as well, selected a new picture for the front cover. I've had this picture on my mantle in my living room for years. It's a beautiful picture.
It's just gorgeous.
Unfortunately, I didn't own the copyright to the picture, so I had to buy it.
So now it was your picture. How do you not own the copyright to the picture?
I didn't take the picture. I was at.
Okay.
I was at the vaccination clinic at Petco on a Saturday morning, and there's a photographer there taking pictures of people's cats, and he was trying to sell like additional services and magnets and stuff. But the first picture he took was free, so I got the free picture of Kitty and put it in a frame on my mantle, and it had been there for years. And when I initially published my book, I said this would be a great picture to use for the front cover.
And he said, "Oh no, no, no."
Well, no. I took it out of the back of the frame, and I saw on the back of the picture, copyright owned by so and so. No, it can't be used or printed without permission. So
well, a lot of artists forget to copyright their things, but so you had to get around that too.
Yeah, I actually bought the copyright.
Okay.
And so that's why I was able to use this photograph when I republished the book in April.
Okay, so now, geez, every bookstore has an area for animals, and I can even see a parent reading this to a kid before bed. I mean, we're trying to teach our grandchildren, and they have 2 dogs and they had cats, respect for animals. So every book I get is about animals, is about saving animals. They're probably ready to just pitch me over a bridge somewhere, but they love animals, and so I always try to get things that I think this is going to make you grow up and be very aware. And I can see this too. So now you're going to you can go after with all this that you've done, the Barnes and Nobles of the world.
Absolutely, I've done events at Barnes and Noble in Enfield, West Hartford, Holyoke, Milford, Stamford, Waterbury, and
it's really allowed you to increase your distribution.
Absolutely. As a result of purchasing my own ISBN number and republishing it, since I own the ISBN number, it allows me to distribute my book through basically every channel that's available.
Any of your other kiddies go, hey, he's famous. What about me? What's your next book? I mean, is Squeaker saying, I want to be the subject of your next book? Get any of them to sign it with their little paw prints?
Well, I got a few things I'm working on.
Do you think so? There might be another book coming?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I certainly, that's the game plan.
That's the game plan?
Yeah.
Well, are we going to see one about Squeakers or Girleen? I mean, that Girleen's story's heartbreaking.
Girleen's got a great story. Yeah, she's got a great story. Squeakers has a great story too, though. Definitely, my next book will most likely focus on one of those two.
Okay.
Now, certainly, I include details about my other cats in the book, but when I wrote this book, I wanted to primarily focus on Kitty. So, I mean, he was your first, and he was the vanguard. Primary subject of the book. But, I talk about how I rescued Squeakers and Girleen and, things like that.
So, I thank you for being here. I know I didn't give you much time, but you popped right in and helped us. So, is there anything else you want to talk about, Sean, before we go and let people know?
Well, we talked about the awards the book has received, which, I'm very excited about. I also received a Midwest book review recently, and they said they unreservedly recommend The Kitty Who Rescued Me After I Rescued Him for community library collections. So that's something we're real proud of. We received a reader's favorite 5-star review. Currently have a 4.9 out of 5-star average rating on Amazon.
Fantastic.
Which is real exciting.
That's good, yeah.
We have an event coming up December 9th at the Book Club Bookstore and More in South Windsor on Sullivan Avenue. And that's an event from 10 to 3 on Saturday, December 9th.
You'll be there signing books?
I sure will,
You'll be there signing books? Okay. And so it's December 9th, people. And please do try to pick this book up because it's heart-tugging, and it'll give you a little more insight into how kitties think, I think. It will do that. And again, I thank you so much, Sean. Do you sell off your own website? You want to talk about your website before we
Well,
wrap it up?
I actually haven't established a website
okay,
yet.
okay.
Haven't gotten that far. I am working on it.
Okay.
If people want to get it online, certainly Amazon.com,
Amazon.com
or
BarnesandNoble
BarnesandNoble.com.
and or this book event coming up December 9th.
Yeah, it's available at quite a few bookstores locally. It's available at quite a few bookstores up in Western Massachusetts. It's available at a number of Barnes & Noble stores here in Connecticut.
Well, on your way out of town, you should stop at the Windsor Library and talk to them about carrying it.
That's a good idea.
I might have it in for you. So thank
Thanks,
you
Connie.
so much. Thank you for making the time for us.
Thanks for having me on your program
Thank you.
today.
Thanks.